What's going on? Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Amy Hayek, and I am on my chicken quest again this morning, going to let the chickens out, but I wanted to stop in with you. I have exercise hair. Morning, guys. So I wanted to check in today and mention that today, the 19th, we are getting closer and closer to the turn in daylight. But the other cool thing that I was thinking about this morning was the fact that we had a super moon December 3rd, and scientists say that means that the super moon is closer to the Earth. It also has an effect on tides and water flow and all those kinds of things, which changes everybody who has a lot of inflammation this time of year, because their metabolism has caused them to retain water weight. And so when we get those supermoons, there's a bigger gravitational shift between the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon. And it changes how tides flow. It changes to a bigger high tide at those times, but it also changes a bigger high tide inside. So that includes us, it includes our animals, anything made out of water. Well, guess what? We just, on December 17th, also passed the super new moon, which we can't see because that moon is not visible in the sky to us at night like the full moon is, but it has the same gravitational effects on the Earth and on our water systems. So you may have noticed over the last 2 or 3 days that animals have been getting, maybe showing signs of illness, fever. We've got a little colony of dogs who were all coming up with sort of a canine flu type thing. They're all doing fine now. One of them did have some issues, but he was probably, we always look to who's the weakest of the bunch, and he was kind of the canary in the coal mine for them. But we also see it in people, and so some of you may know people who have become severely ill, usually the older people or those people who have compromised immune systems. And so we have some friends too who have lost loved ones over the last few days. Not coincidence, it's a shift in that gravitational water weight that we're seeing because of the new moon. So all of those changes coinciding with this darker part of the day or part of the year, is making life, harder for those guys. It is definitely making life difficult for some of them, and in part because they haven't had the time to prepare. So we think about the spring and summertime as time to prepare for winter, store up food, all those things. But the other thing that we need to start thinking about in terms of preparation for winter is preparing by getting rid of inflammation, getting rid of inflammatory processes that cause us all those issues that can make us sluggish and ill and not feel good and all those kinds of things. And women are generally a little more in tune with that moon cycle because of menstrual flow. So they will notice, hey, there's got to be a full moon coming up because I'm feeling like crap. And people, there are jokes made about it, and there are people who get really, pretty upset about it. But the truth of the matter is, they're just following that gravitational cycle. Our animals do that too. Mares will oftentimes go through that kind of crankiness cycle. And part of the reason it's the females of the species is they have more estrogen receptors in their system. And those estrogen receptors are affected by a lot of the toxicities that we now see in the environment. Almost all of them man-made. I mean, I guess 700 and some of them are naturally occurring, but the rest of those 80,000 estrogen receptors or estrogen mimics are completely man-made. And they end up in our food chain, and they end up in our bodies, and then we bloat and gain water weight and do things like develop cancers. So the point is, our animals do the same thing. when we prevent them, what we do is we plan ahead. And planning ahead is probably one of the good things that people should be good at. You know, animals, there are some animal species that plan ahead. They grow hair, they gain weight so that they can make it through the winter. And as humans, we need to start thinking a little further ahead than that too. So we need to start getting prepared for next winter for our animals and for ourselves. Starting, you know, that's probably what New Year's resolutions are all about. It's about that plan to prepare for next winter so that we've decreased our inflammatory processes and can move forward and get to next fall and next winter when we have full moons and super moons that cause high tide and cause water weight gain and cause water flow changes. And we'll be prepared because we will have decreased our own internal inflammatory processes, and we will be able to handle other people's inflammatory processes better. I'm going to get poured on here in a minute, so I'm going to head for a little cover. But my message today is, yeah, we're almost there. We're almost to the biggest shift from dark to light, but we're also headed into that time of year when there is going to be less shift in water weight between ourselves and our environment for a little while, and it's a great time to make those New Year's resolutions to plan for next year. Make some resolutions to help those other people around us who are trying to decrease their inflammatory processes as well, so that they can come through the winter and make it through. So it's not just about having enough food. It's not just about being warm enough. It's about not carrying around so much water weight. We can start by having an anti-inflammatory diet, and in our animals, that's easy. We can do raw foods for our dogs. We can even do relatively raw seed meal foods for our horses. Even for our cattle, sheep, and goats, seed meals are a great way to feed them, but the processes of that haven't been, developed as simply as they have been for other animals. We feed a seed meal to all of our animals that eat grain, or that would eat grain, that eat grass, because that's a better diet for them. But then for our dogs, we feed a raw food because that is more anti-inflammatory. The other thing that I'm coming in and out of signal, sorry guys. Probably because I am standing in the rain. Is that a little better? Sorry guys, we had a little glitch there in the internet. But we can feed our animals anti-inflammatory foods. We can feed ourselves anti-inflammatory foods. We can certainly exercise, but getting that chiropractic adjustment is key for helping those fluids travel through our system, particularly our nervous system, which runs everything in the body. So without normal fluid motion through the spine, we get problems. We get a lot of nervous system issues that then cause other illnesses and ailments. So sometimes, especially this time of year, getting adjusted more frequently is important to keep those fluids moving. We see in this little dog colony who was having some difficulties, we were adjusting them twice a day sometimes because they were not holding their adjustments. And I'm in the wrong spot to go live right now, but we're going to get back there. So I want to get back to my video so that I can tell you guys how awesome you are and how awesome so it's so nice to have a little group of us out there that are helping people learn this, and the more we do it ourselves, the more others learn from us. It's really important because that's the service we can do for others, is help them to learn and help them to grow and realize that New Year's resolution doesn't have to be painful, but it can be helpful and healthful and help them to grow and learn and change and be better prepared for this time of year next year, so that those aches and pains go away and so that they can then reach out to help other people, because that's really what we're all here for, is to survive as a species. I'm trying to get finished on this video because it's pouring rain and I keep losing signal. But I'm so glad you guys joined me today. Only a couple more days of this darker time. And when we get there, we'll all celebrate because the holidays will be here. But we can celebrate now, making those plans, getting ready for what we're going to do to be anti-inflammatory in the new year. So more chiropractic adjustments through this time of year. Get ourselves straight next year. Get on a regular routine basis for our animals through the next year so that when they come into the fall, they can handle it better too. Their nervous systems and their immune systems function better. You know, that atlas is the seat of a lot of the immune function because of where it sits, because of the pituitary, the adrenals, the thyroid, all that stuff that sits there is right at that atlas. So if that's not adjusted, then a lot of nerve function doesn't work. The other thing that we need to keep in mind is anti-inflammatory diet. So helping those animals with anti-inflammatory diets help, and inflammatory foods change based on the kinds of man-made products that go into them. So the less man-made, the more organic that diet, the less inflammatory it's going to be. Thanks you guys for joining me. Hi Dawn. Hey, the boys are out there having a great time. You may have seen them on a few pictures earlier. Thanks all for joining me. Please pass this message on. Please let as many people know that we're almost at the end of this dark phase. We just finished that new moon that has the same effects as the full moon. And it's time to make New Year's resolutions, not to be hard on ourselves, but to think about planning for next fall, to think about preparing to be more anti-inflammatory. Who cares about weight? Weight's just a number. What we really want to do is be more anti-inflammatory so that we can be there to help others to be healthier and happier too, and so that we can make better decisions through the rest of our lives, career, whatever. Thanks you guys for joining. We'll see you soon. If you just jumped on, there'll be a replay coming up really soon, and it'll take you through the whole thing. So we're talking about inflammatory processes from our environment that include this new moon that we just passed, and we've been discussing how the chiropractic adjustment helps reduce that inflammation and get that fluid flowing, and how sometimes frequency of adjustment is necessary until that animal, it might be us, but it might be our dog, can hold an adjustment because they've gotten rid of enough inflammation. And that inflammation comes from the environment, both from what we eat, what we do, and from the gravitational forces of the earth and moon and the effects it has on water. So I'm going to leave you guys with one last note. I want you to think about this. Get an almanac or check the tide charts, because that'll let you know when the next full moon is coming up and when the next new moon is coming up, and when we're going to have to start, what's the date we have to prepare for. So maybe instead of making whole New Year's resolutions, all next year I'm not going to eat a thing, instead of doing that, let's do things like plan for the next 28 days. So by the next full moon, I want to make sure that I have not eaten X amount of inflammatory foods, or I want to make sure that all my dogs are on an anti-inflammatory diet for at least 2 weeks before that next full moon, so that they don't come down with issues. I want to make sure that all my horses are on a more anti-inflammatory diet, so less grain and less sugar. Sugar is a huge inflammation creator. So less sugar in their diets will help them too. Less sugar in our diets will help. So, you know, we're going through this holiday and everybody thinks, oh, all these sweets and treats and desserts. Not a great way to prepare for the next coming full moon. Yeah, we all live in this environment, and it's okay to celebrate some, but overindulgence can just make things worse by that next full moon. So let's plan a 28-day, get ready for the next full moon. Actually, we don't even have that much time now because we just went through the new moon. So let's just look for when that next full moon is and give ourselves a little boost by eating maybe more greens for a little while. Get some of that inflammatory stuff out. Any kind of waste products you get rid of, and I'm talking about bathroom stuff, potty mouth, Dr. Amy. Any of those waste products we get rid of are actually helping us get rid of some of the inflammatory stuff that's in our system. So that's what we're looking for. Probably try to stay on this side of diarrhea, but anyway, we want to get rid of the inflammation, and our goal is to get rid of it by the next full moon. Probably not all of it, but to start that process. And then we can start tracking things through those full moons and make sure that we are prepared, because the spring moon is going to have similar effects to these last few super moons that we've seen because of its proximity to Earth. And it's that proximity between the Earth and the Sun and the Moon that cause these things. So let's plan. All right, we'll make a calendar. I'll get it out there. I'll have it up today, and you guys can see when that next full moon's going to be. And if you want, you can make some comments about it and say, you know, some of the things you'd like to work toward. In the meantime, thanks for joining me. Thanks for being that small army of people who are out there to help others understand and learn that it's not us against the world, it's us with the world, and we have to learn to work with it as a species in order to survive. Thanks again. For more information on this, you can join us at animalchiropracticeducation.com, where you can find all kinds of courses you can take that help you learn more about the environment and how it affects your animals, and most importantly, how chiropractic can help them survive.